Do you have a song?
Back in the summer of '69. Do you remember? Who was it? What's his fucking name again?
Go on, see if you get it right. Back in the summer of '69.
I got my first real G-string.
No, mate. No, it's not a G-string.
Well, when I was a kid, that's what I thought he was literally saying. Yeah.
You're another. Who was it?
What's his name? He did a song with Sporty Spice that was so bad. What's his name? Brian Adams, yeah. Not Brian Ferry. What did Brian Ferry sing? Give me a song.
And Brian Ferry sang, oh shit, I do know this.
Avalon. Hoo-hoo. Avalon, yeah. Remember?
Yeah. I wouldn't have picked that song. There's other songs, right, that Brian Ferry sang?
Yeah. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do.
I don't think people listen to this for our singing prowess.
Yeah,
I'm just going to put it out there.
Fucking get over
But
it.
summer of '69, great.
In the summer of
'69. Anyway, how are you going?
I
What's
wasn't
happening?
even alive in '69. That feels good, doesn't it?
It does, considering nowadays when you're putting your age in, you're like, scroll.
Scroll. I remember people used to say to me, so when were you
Scroll.
born? I'm like 1972. And they're like, oh, baby, you're such a baby. And I'm thinking now they're like...
I've been helping Lexi sort her passport out. And I'm like putting her birth year. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I know.
Anyway.
2011 or something.
No, that's Lola. She's 2009.
But
Lex.
I follow this rave page from 90s raves, right? And it's all this video footage from 90s raves. Fucking hell, it's got so good. It is so good.
Right back.
It just brings you right back, but also you see just how messy people were. People just gurning and just fucking biting their eyelids, and oh my God, it's hilarious.
It is funny.
My kids are like, "Did you used to do it?" I'm like, "Yeah. This is weird. This is where it all happened, kids. This was the era." Anyway, I want to talk about this TV show, Adolescence, because it was fucking so good. Now, I want to say,
There's a bit of a spoiler alert.
if
to
you haven't
anyone
watched
listening.
it, then I would probably stop now, watch it, and then come back and listen to the podcast. It was very, very, very well done. It was very interesting, beautifully recorded. It wasn't without fault in terms of its production, but it was just, the whole story was so encapsulating, like right from the beginning.
So what did you like about it? Was it the story? Was it the way it was filmed? Was it the acting? Was it the message?
I think that the story, the message was so provoking, thought-provoking, you know, like it was so, especially based on what's happening in the digital age right now with kids and social media and everything else. But also, I just felt for the parents so much, you know, like it was just so devastating for them. But how they handled the devastation and how they pulled together, you know, especially the last scene. You know, the last scene was just... We're start from the beginning.
Well, I think there's a few...
There's so much in it.
There's so much in it.
Yeah.
So I think to start off with, I think the way it was filmed really added to the... So obviously the fact that it was just done every episode. So there's only 4 episodes and each episode was shot in one take. Mm-hmm. So the skill it would have taken from the crew and the actors to be able to shoot each episode in one take. So the way they did it was they rehearsed for, I don't know how long each episode was rehearsed for. So they rehearsed and I think they built on. So as they were rehearsing, because it's at every episode's an hour long. So they started one bit, another bit, so that they would add on, so that they kind of knew their lines. Apparently, but the young kid,
every actor, including the kids that were in the schoolyard, like everybody had to get that right.
100%. So apparently the kid who plays, is it Jamie?
Yeah,
Jamie. He came and was. First day was off book, meaning that he already knew all his lines. He'd practiced enough so he knew all his lines to begin with. Yeah. That's an hour-long episode. Yeah. And he did the psychologist episode, which is episode 3, which was amazing. That episode was amazing. But that was his very first time in a studio acting. And so for the fact that he was able to do that was next level. So basically what they did is they rehearsed for a time, and that was including crew, and stuff like that. So the crew were getting used to like the filming because they had to move and they had to change camera angles, put cameras on drones, do all that sort of stuff in order for it all to be shot in one take. Yeah. So the crew were practicing as well as the actors. Yeah. And then what they did is that they had 1 week where they would film. So they had rehearsal time and then they had 1 week where they would film. And in the week that they were filming for proper, basically, every day
to get a take.
They did one take in the morning and one take in the afternoon. Right. So over the course of the week, they were doing about 10 takes. I think some of them, they did a few more because of the fact that they had to start again, because if something went wrong, they had to start again, right?
So if it's a 50-minute clip.
It's a 15 minutes
they
to
could
an
be
hour.
49 minutes in, somebody fucks up, and then they have to start it all over again. There wasn't one cut.
No, so that's right. So I think the rehearsals stopped that from happening, so that people I think sometimes they had, with a glaring mistake, they had to go back to start. But for some of the little mistakes, I think they kept them in, right? And so they did like a full take in the morning, then a full take in the afternoon. So they did that. Yeah. And then at the end, not at the end, but afterwards, listening to the guy talking, because this is a Brad Pitt production as well. He was part of it. Listen to him talking. He explained that the first episode was done on the second take. They took the second take and used that as the final take. Right. The last episode was the very last episode. Out of 16 takes or 11 takes or whatever they did of that, it was the very last one that they used. So they'd shot that like 10, 11, 12, 13 times over the course of that week. Yeah. And it was the very last one that they used. Yeah. And he actually changed it to how it ended. They put some, the actor playing the dad, they put some pictures of his kids and stuff in the room, and it encouraged his emotion, and they put the teddy bear there and encouraged the emotion, and then it was a little bit ad hoc how he finished it. It wasn't necessarily planned, but they used that take at the end, right? Yeah. So the fact that all of that work and all of that production had to go into the, when we were watching it, I was like, how did they get out of the window and do that? And then the drone, then they're up in the sky with the drone, and then they come back down, like just the smoothness in which all of that needed to happen. So you didn't notice that the camera was being
unhooked,
attached to a drone,
moved. Yeah. And then on top of that, the drone, whoever was controlling the drone had to follow him.
Yeah, and then had to come back down.
And then had to come down as if it was a camera that's right in front of him.
Correct.
It was just
and then
so clever.
Even the camera on top of the car and things like that. So if you see in post-production, there was some stuff that did happen in post-production. So, for example, when he went out the window, the window wasn't actually there. It was a gap, and so they made it. They did the window. There was a hole, so they passed the camera through, but it wasn't actually
a window.
It was they put the window kind of thing in there post-production so that they could pass it, but there was no cuts, no edits. No, it was literally just one take all the way through. So that really, I think that it added to some of the emotion and some of the, I don't know.
You didn't feel, what it did was, I didn't feel there was a break through the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? It was like suddenly my mind was getting dragged through this whole experience, you know? It wasn't like it was, when you have a cut off and then it shoots to another scene, you kind of feel there's a bit of a reprieve. Yeah. So what happens is that you're
caught along with the story the whole time.
Yeah, and so the anxiety and the whole emotional experience through the whole show is just so encapsulating. Like I was really, it really had me. And I watched it for a second time with you guys a couple of days later, and I was just like, I was so excited. I was like, you guys got to see how they did this. This is very good. But then also the storyline. And Lola watched it, and she was telling me that she said, when he's in the bedroom and
at the beginning,
and the cops come in, they burst in the door. Yeah.
And there's a knife there.
There's a ripped piece of wallpaper that is representative of the knife in his hand. And I'm like, holy shit, because she said he's got his hand up on the wall. Yeah. And that represents the knife. So and then when you watch him getting arrested, like you're thinking, the poor fucking parents, like what the fuck is going on? There's 5 squad cars pull up. There's a tactical response group jump out of a car, run up, and they're smashing down this door, and they run up and they put a gun at this kid. Fucking don't move. And then the guy walks in and goes, you're under arrest for the murder of da-da-da-da-da. And the kid is just like, he's 13. Yeah. And he's just in this state of just shock. But you're kind of looking at him going, is he in a state of shock? You know what I mean? Like I was looking at him going, shouldn't he be more shocked? And right from the beginning, you start to think, what the fuck is going on here? And then as the story drags you through, you're questioning, okay, was it the parents? What happened? Why did this happen to this? Why is this happening? And in the first show, you see him stab her. In the first episode, you actually see him stab her.
Yeah, so I can't remember the guy who plays the dad, right? Steven someone maybe? I can't remember his name. But I was seeing him interviewed quite a bit after I'd watched it.
Right, the first time you saw his career do anything was in Snatch.
Yeah.
Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Sorry, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. He's the little Scouser guy that goes around with what's his fucking name? Jason Statham. And his nickname will come to me in a minute. But yeah, he's the guy that's Jason Statham's offsider in Snatch. But he's a brilliant actor.
So he talked about the fact that they wanted it to be. So he had seen stories that kids had been stabbed.
Yeah.
And in schools, and then he saw another one like not long afterwards, and he said, "What's going on?" So he didn't want it to be, "Did he do it or didn't he do it?" kind of storyline.
Yeah.
He wanted it to be clear that he did do it, but why did he do it?
Yeah.
And so you get taken through that journey. Like at the beginning, if you don't know, like you wonder whether he did or you didn't, but within the first little bit, you know that he did.
Yeah.
And so you're watching and figuring out what's gone on. Why has this happened? So the thing
sorry, go on.
No, go.
I was just going to say, the emotion of when the father is shown the video.
Yeah.
And he looks at him and he goes, what have you done? Do you know what I mean? I've had that from my own father in my life, where he's looked at me and gone, what have you done? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I could really feel, fucking hell. I totally understood from the father's perspective. And the father, you can see how absolutely crushed and devastated he is from what he's just watched. He's in this state of absolute fucking disbelief. And the boy is sitting there next to him, and the boy doesn't know anything else to say other than, I didn't do it.
No, he didn't say that. Do you know he didn't say that? He said, I did nothing wrong.
Ah, that's right.
So he doesn't deny that he did it. He said, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, in his mind.
In his mind, he didn't do anything wrong.
He was actually,
So this is what I think I'm a little bit conflicted with not the messaging, because I understood the messaging to be around not so much the parents, but around the impact of social media, or the impact of your kids getting influenced outside of the family,
right,
in the sense of, they speak about him being caught in his room and being online and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's an impact of bullying there as well. But I feel like the messaging, or I feel like people have understood the messaging to be around this whole idea of toxic masculinity, right? And that is a challenge for me, because I don't necessarily agree with that. And there's a lot of people talking around the fact that he was able to kind of get away with it from his dad, or that the dad had a patterning of behaviour in his life and the kid is following on from that. They mentioned Andrew Tate a couple of times and stuff like that. So I heard the actor who plays the dad, wish I remember his name, the actor who plays the dad. Gabs, can you find his name for us? The actor who plays the dad in Adolescence. I think his name's Steven.
Is it Williamson?
Stephen Graham.
Right.
That's it, thanks. So when I heard him being interviewed, he said, we specifically spoke about Andrew Tate and mentioned it for the adults so that the adults could get a comprehension. He said, notice that the kids never ever mentioned it.
Yeah.
Right? So the kids have got the culture in terms of the messaging and the online stuff and whatever. And he said, I used that reference. We wanted to use that reference so people could have kind of understood, the thing. But I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of.
But I don't think he was making it.
He wasn't. He wasn't.
No,
that's what I'm
because
saying.
Because it's not about toxic masculinity.
That's what I'm saying.
At all.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's why my conflict is, because as much as I like it, the show, I worry that it's been taken in a way that I don't know whether it was fully intended when I see how people have reacted to it.
Yeah, I think it's more. I think the story is actually overshadows that concept of toxic masculinity, because I think the mention of the adults was the reason they did that was to say, actually, it's nothing to do with that. It's to do with something completely different.
That's
it's to do with
how
the parents don't understand what the languaging is and the
how
kids,
to communicate that with the children.
Because you think a kid reading a meme, like a meme, sorry, not even a meme, it was an emoji.
Yeah.
That emojis, like a red pill means a red pill, a red heart means a red. Like, I knew nothing about that. Yeah. So there's this whole underlying language that has nothing to do with toxic masculinity.
I know.
There's this whole underlying language that is happening within social media that, and it may not, because I don't know anything about it. My kids, when I questioned them about it, were like, no, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
But over in what they were saying was, and I don't know whether it was an invention of the writers to do that, or whether it's actually a thing. It is actually a thing. Yeah. So I don't know that, and I didn't know that. So I was looking at it going, fuck, okay, so they're saying, the problem is toxic masculinity, but it's not. The problem is the fucking, parents putting their kids in front of a screen and leaving them alone with, who the fuck are you leaving them alone with?
Yes.
Who the fuck is on the other end of that screen? Do you know what I mean? Like, who is doing that? Who is fucking talking to your child?
Yes, I agree. So what they're saying though, and I don't agree with it, but I understand why they're getting that message. The dad was quite angry, right?
Yes.
He didn't understand.
He had all his own shit.
He's got all his own shit. And so the wife, it was kind of her job to regulate his emotions.
Right.
And so they're talking around that.
Right.
And I understand that because how I see it is that he didn't have that modelling of the father. And so what he's trying to do is he's trying to step out of that norm and not be that with the kid. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to not be what his father was with the kid.
Yeah.
So because he doesn't know how to be any different, he's kind of left the kid to his own devices.
That's right. Well, what he didn't know was how to be with the kid.
How to be elsewhere.
Yeah, okay. Because when he talked about when his father, when he was at the game watching the kid play soccer, right? Mm-hmm. And the kid missed the goal.
Yeah, because his father had an idea of what he needed to
So his
be.
father, in his case, would have gone, you fucking idiot, and clattered him or dragged him out, given him a kick in the arse. But he didn't want to treat his son like that.
Way.
But he didn't treat his son at all.
He just didn't know how to do it.
He didn't know how to do it.
Correct.
So what happened is that the kid then was like,
then I'm not good enough in some way.
Yeah.
So
then the kid, he never taught the kid how to regulate his own disappointment
because he didn't know how to do it himself.
Yes.
So based on what we do, I get that.
Yeah.
Right. But what frustrates me is I feel like, and I might be wrong about it as well, but I feel like people have taken that on board and like that it's the dad's fault.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not just the dad's fault because he wasn't able to manage himself.
Own,
and therefore, like, the kid is, this is the culture that the kid grew up in and blah, 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 blah. I just see it differently. I said in his way, he was trying to do the best that he could. And he didn't have the skills to be able to do better or to know better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Because it's like he went into inaction. Yeah. Because that was the way he saw it was,
I'm going to not be like my dad.
But I don't know what to be like.
Yeah.
I don't know how to actually be around this boy.
Yeah.
Because, if the father tells his children he loves them by fucking working his ass off, mm-hmm. which is what you saw that he did. Mm-hmm. He was just... And the kid talks about how hard his father works and that his father was absent when, in actual fact, your children just need you to be with them. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be with them for hours, but you need to know when you're with them how to be with them. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? How to actually love them, how to take care of them, how to be able to regulate. And it's that whole thing of the kid bouncing up and down on top of the bed. There's a point where I say to my kids all the time, you have to know how to come in and say, hey, you need to stop bouncing on the bed because you're getting tired and you're going to fall off and smash your head on the ground. So you need to know when to interrupt. But if interruption for the father was when his father used to interrupt, it was with his hand or a belt or a piece of stick, he didn't want to be that, so he wasn't interrupting at all. He was leaving it to the mother. And then the mother had all her own fucking issues. Mm-hmm. She was doing her own thing. Because at the end, you watch when he turns around and he says, okay, Dad, I'm going to actually plead guilty. Mm-hmm. And you watch the two parents, and that was really the catalyst for the two of them to pull together. Mm-hmm. That was really where they were so conflicted, and she was like, but I didn't see the video. And he's like, but I did see the video. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it was fucking horrific. you know, and she didn't see it. So she was really waiting on him the whole time to go, what do I do here? I'm in limbo, you know? So they're years into waiting to go to trial. And then he rings them and says, I think I'm going to plead guilty. But then that scene in the bedroom was just so moving. It was like, fucking hell. And somebody said to me yesterday at the store, said to me, you know, I think the scene in the bedroom, which was an hour long, they could have done in 10 minutes. But in actual fact, they couldn't have, because there was so much in what was going on psychologically for the two of them, where, you know,
where they had to admit this and
this piece comes together,
and
then this piece comes together, and then they're looking at each other going, did we do anything wrong? And what they realize is that, in fact, what we did was we did nothing. That was the problem. We actually didn't do anything. We left this kid. And the problem is when you're leaving your kid to their own devices and, excuse
devices
the pun,
devices
is in, you have to understand that is a fucking dangerous thing that you're doing. You need to ask them, how are you going? Tell me what's happening. Show me what's happening on your phone. Like Lexi said to me at the moment, you know, when I'm 16, I'm going to cut you off all of my socials. I thought she'd seen anything. Now she's already done it, but I know at the moment she's able to manage things. She's been through enough of the mill for me to know, okay, she's able to regulate and manage stuff and monitor what's going on. Do you know what I mean? But some parents just don't do that. They're like, okay, well, as long as I work hard and as long as they have their mother there, then everything's going to be all right. But when you're a child and you're in a family, you need a mother and a father. You know, even if the father it comes from the rough end of town and it goes through what that kid went.
Well, it's just about, it's even because, you know, single parent families, it's fine. It's more just the fact that at some level you've got to do what you can to be present and to be connected and figure out a way to bridge that gap that you perceive is there, you know. I think, you know, I don't disagree with some of it, but, you know me, we don't need to go into it right now, but I don't like that concept of toxic masculinity. I think people label it incorrectly. It doesn't mean that some men can't be toxic, but the idea that the normal standard masculine energy is a toxic energy does not sit with me, and we haven't got time to go into it today,
but I just think it's part of that woke nonsense, you know. The toxic masculinity is, you know, wokeism is now, you know, suffering the death of 1,000 fucking warriors. It's just it's gone, it's over. And I think it's just one of those cliche things that was part of it, because there's toxic femininity. There's everybody has the capacity to be toxic,
of course.
But if you don't know how to regulate yourself, there's times I've been toxic, of course, but I have the know-how to be able to stop and correct myself, and the emotional intelligence, and I'm surrounded by people who love me enough to go, hey, come on, I expect more, and so.
I know. It's just that I think that there was some misinterpretation of that. I mean, my recommendation for anyone is go and watch it anyway. Just go and listen to it, because it's really, really cool the way it's done. Do you know the girl who played the girl who died? Yeah. In the end of the scene, at the end of the episode with the school kids and the drone, and then he goes back to the grave. It's actually the actor. Her name's Amelia, actually. The actor who plays the dead girl, she's the one singing that haunting song at the end. Yeah.
Really?
Really. And then for like the episode with the psychologist, the nuance in the work that both of them did for them to to execute on the scene, in that he actually made a mistake. So when he yawned, do you know he yawned?
She said, am I
boring you? Because otherwise they would have had to start the whole fucking thing again.
Laughed.
And he kind of smirked and stuff. But that actually got kept in there, and that was the take they ended up using. So,
but also the fucking creepy guard.
Oh my God.
How good was he?
No, he was creepy.
He was just so good. I was like, he is so perfect for this moment, you know, because he put her on edge, and you could see that she was relying on her intelligence to be able to navigate. I know you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know you. I know who you are, how you operate. I know exactly what you need to hear from me right now, so that you will leave me alone so I can go and be with this boy and do my assessment as to what I need to do. It was fucking just excellent.
The emotion on her at the end of that episode and with him, it was just so cool. It's definitely worth a watch.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'm going to go back and watch it again, I think, this week. It's very good.
Very good, yeah.